All right, guys, good morning. Let's go ahead and get started and dive into Nystrom World. So the first part we're going to be focusing on is the Explorer section of Nystrom World that's over here to the right. See if I can highlight that right here over to the right, the one that says Explorer. Depending on the license that you get, it depends on the content that is included. So some of you may only get the Explorer. For example, if you buy one of the mapping programs that comes with the hands-on desk maps, the Explorer comes with it as part of your package. So you can assign these out to students, and I'm going to show you guys how that all works here in just a moment. But I did want to talk about the rest of these. The Researcher, that's a separate piece, but these can all be bundled together and purchased together. But the Researcher piece right here is for if you purchase like an Atlas pack, you get access to the digital atlas and so on. And then you can also purchase the different Nystrom secondary maps and elementary maps and history maps and all those things. But we're going to focus today on mostly the Explorer for this section. So I do want to kind of get you guys started and talk about how to first of all, get students into the program if your district is not rostering. If you don't have single sign-on set up or anything like that through the district, like let's say it was an individual school purchase or individual teacher purchase, you may not have that. It is very, very simple to get your students in. I'm going to walk you through in just a couple of quick steps how to do that. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on Manage Students down there at the bottom. So to add your students in, it's really simple. You create your classes first. You just give the class a name. So I'm going to call this one second period. Okay, and you hit save, and it gives you success for your class was updated successfully. Now, if you wanted to go quickly and just add your other classes in right now, there's a catch. You can't just do that here because notice you are in edit class. So if you change the name of this and hit save thinking you're adding a new class, you're not. You're editing the class that you just created. So instead, you simply have to click back on the word classes at the top of the screen there and then create a new class. But once you have done that, once you have set up all of your classes, this is how simple it is to add students. It's really easy. Click on the word students, copy this link right here, and give it out to your students through Google Classroom, Canvas, Schoology, any of those different things, or send via email, or you can write it on the board. I will warn you though, if you write this on the board, it is case sensitive. So if you try to create this right here, and you miss, you make that a lowercase q or something like that, then you're not going to be able to, the students won't be able to get in. But it's really easy. So look at how simple this is for the students. Once they get that link from you, I'm just going to paste it right here into this. Once they get that link from you, all they have to do is put their first name, last name, email confirmation, contact phone, which we don't require that, and you guys don't need to put that in there. That's just for you if you need to contact their parents, and then set a password. After that, because you've created all of your classes already, the kids simply drop themselves into the proper class period, agree to the terms, and register. It's a simple process that takes about 10 seconds for your kids to set themselves up. Not real difficult, of course, depending on how quickly they type. But first name, last name, email, confirmed email. It doesn't even have to be a real email, but if they need to reset their passwords, then they'll want to have that real email address. However, you, the teacher, will be able to change those later on. So that's it. You're done. You have your classes set up. Your students are in there. And I'm going to go back here to home screen. And so now we're here. Our students are all set up. They're all in their classes because they chose which class they needed to be in. They dropped themselves in. So now you, as the teacher, need to assign them out a lesson. So depending on what your school, district, or department purchased, you may have one of these options here. The Mapping Our World is a great fundamentals in geography, not only the physical geography, but it also explores cultures and looking at different cultures around the world, as well as some very specific themes to different regions. It does a regional study, but there are special themes for each region. So let's take a look. We're going to go into that one, but I do want to mention here the U.S. history one really spans across a lot of different grade levels. You can really use this in just about any secondary U.S. history class. I've seen tons of people use these in like a seventh or eighth grade U.S. history, as well as in high school. I actually used the older version of this many, many years ago when I was in the classroom with my AP students, and they loved it, and it really helped them to make sense of the big heavy readings that they were doing, because it is much more visual in nature, but the text is not so complex. I said I use it for my AP students, I use it for my regular ed, and then I have teachers that use it in middle school for US history as well, and the kids don't struggle with it because the text is just very straightforward. It's step by step instructions that walks them through how to do that. And then, of course, the mapping world history kind of falls in that same context. Some schools do this at middle school, some at high school, and this mapping program is just very visual in nature, step by step procedural text, where they're having to really make sense of connecting history and geography together. All right, so let's go in and take a look at the structures of these units. So I'm going to select a unit here. I'm going to go to, let's look at the unit on Africa. All of these units are set up the exact same way. They're going to all start with a close reading exercise, and then they are going to have several different lessons here. Notice a little icon indicating a mapping lesson. And then down here, there are quick writes. There's a quick write for each one of these mapping lessons. And so there's just a writing prompt where the kids go in after they've completed a lesson and they answer the writing prompts. You can assign this all at once, so they have the quick writes for the entire unit. You can pick and choose which quick writes you want to assign. I would recommend, kind of giving them, maybe if you plan on doing all of these lessons, then assigning the whole thing and just tell them after you've completed each lesson, make sure you go back and do the quick write. And then once they're done, there's kind of a culminating quiz. It's a short quiz, maybe 10 to 20 questions, somewhere in that range. And then there's this great mapping presentation research project. So if you want to extend their learning and you want to get them to go out and try something different, then the mapping research presentation project is a really good thing to use. All right, so let's take a look at how these are set up. The close reading exercises are real short, like warm-up types of activities. So let's take a look at this. You'll notice that it's just a few, this one only has 2 paragraphs, so it's just a couple of paragraphs. And then there is a brief thing right here. It says close reading, and the skill we're focusing on here is comprehension. So it's asking students to rewrite the first paragraph from the introduction in your own words. Be sure to keep the meaning as the original. So the kids, and it says answers will vary because we're in the teacher edition here. But what you will notice is that when they have to go and rewrite that paragraph, they're actually gonna have to go back, really read through it again, and make sure they understand it, and so that helps build that comprehension. So it's just a great warm-up activity, kind of introducing them to this unit on Africa. All right, then you will also notice, and this is going to be similar for all these different regions when we're talking about this mapping our world, we've got the exploring land and water. So this is going to be looking at some of the physical geography, the countries and cities, the political geography, and then some more physical. And then there are some specific to that region. So we've got like the Sahara, the Nile, and meeting the people. There's usually a lot of these that have to do with cultures here. You'll see one for a culture in each region that we go to. So let's take a look at one of these. Let's go ahead and look at the Nile exercise. And so as this loads in, what we're going to see here is a teacher example of what it should look like when the students are finished. And so you notice I zoom in here, and it's got all these different places marked up and labeled as the students read through this. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there's this box. These are the step-by-step instructions. So let's say you get this, just the Explorer portion, and you're like, hey, I want my students to look at the atlas for this program. They can simply click on the word atlas, and it takes them right into that atlas so that they can see it. But notice these are step-by-step instructions. If you have students that struggle with reading, we have some tools built into the program. Up here at the top right, there is an enable speech button. This allows students to have text read to them, to translate it into about 30 different languages. It looks like I have it set to Vietnamese here. So it allows the students to translate into their native language or have it read to them. They can also look for picture dictionary here. We've got the word transported. they're not sure what this means, they can click on the little painting picture at the top, and it's going to give them a picture dictionary. But on top of that, there's also a standard dictionary built in as well with all the different parts of speech. So these are just some extra ways to help your students if they struggle with the reading. Now, as your students work, you'll notice that they can collapse this right here. So if they need to look at the map a little more carefully, they can do that. They can also take the map to full screen by clicking on this little frame over here on the right, and they'll now take this to full screen so they can see everything with a little bit more detail. And you'll notice here that they click through the instructions and it's asking them to do different things. So down here on the right, I'm going to walk through these tools over here. This is just takes to full screen or out of full screen. This recenters the map like that. So it recentered it, and notice it kind of piled everything on top of each other because we're doing everything in a small area. Then there is the plus and minus. So that's a zoom in and zoom out. So we can zoom in and we can zoom out. All right. And then down below that is the toolbox. This is where kids are going to spend most of their time in this particular lesson. So right here in all these lessons. So the text box right here, they'll simply click on an area and they will add text. So I'm just going to type in Libya. And notice at this point you can rotate it, move it back and forth, or just leave it as is. All right, there's also a drawing tool right here. So if it asks them to draw a line, they can click on different parts and then double click on the last point to make it finish. There's also the ability to draw some different shapes right here. So there we go, we've added a shape in there. Again, shapes as well. And then the last one is this circle. So with the circle, it's a little bit different. Instead of clicking in each spot, you're just going to click in the center and hold, and then pull outwards to make your circle. So you click where you want the center of the circle, and then you pull outwards to make that. Then there's also the ability to add in push pins. With these push pins, they can add a title, they can give it a description, they can add an image or a video. Right here, it really allows them to type in a lot of information. So if you're wanting them to do some different types of research or something like that, that's a great tool that you can use there. So that is the push pin. And then you will notice for each lesson, there's going to be specific symbols that students need to add to the activity. So the great thing about this hands-on program right here is that each lesson we have tailored the specific icons that the students need to use for this lesson only. So there's not extra icons that are in here that the kids have to dig through. It's only the icons that they're asked to use from the instructions here at the top. You'll notice that it is step-by-step instructions. It's pretty straightforward for the students to be able to read and understand. You also may notice this discolored text right here. This is kind of a purplish color. When you click on this, it actually opens up additional information. So this one right here gives us another map that we can look at, and then it just opens in a new tab. Also, the same thing with the atlas. If they need to look at the atlas, they can click on this here, and it should open the atlas directly to the page that the students need to be working on. So this one is focused on the Sahara, and so you'll notice there's all this extra information. There's even some cool little ebook extras in here too. So you can click on this, and it's going to pull up. This is a great primary source document in here that the students will read through. So 3 weeks, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, in the Sahara. Let's just say that. All right, so we've got all of this in here, and the students are going to work through this assignment. And in the student view, the kids will have a turn in button. And so they simply click on the turn in. Now, let's say a student messes up and they put a symbol where they didn't mean to. There's this edit button right here. So right here, you can drag. Once you have the edit turned on, you can drag it to where you want it. You can change the color of it. A lot of different things you can do with that. And then you have to make sure you come back down here and hit save. If you don't hit save while you're in edit mode, it will revert when you leave this, it will revert back to the original spot. So again, the edit button is right next to the smiley face. You're going to click on what you want to move, and then you're going to hit the save button. And that's how you do that. Okay? So if you want to delete something, like I want to delete some things here. You have an option for clear all, cancel, or save. We don't want to clear all. We want to just delete certain things. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that, that, that. I'm going to delete my circle too, this, the line. I'm just going to take it back to the original. There we go. There we go. And so I've taken it back to the original, removing all those. Okay, now again, the same thing with delete. You want to make sure that you hit the save button. Save button's right here, so simply hit save and it saves their work. And so the students will also have that turn-in button like I mentioned earlier. All right, so now I want to assign this lesson. I'm like, okay, this is really good. I want to use this lesson. I like how it has this population density map in here. I like what it asks the students to do. So now I want to assign this. I simply click on the little head and shoulders. Here we go. And all of your students that you set up earlier are now in there. You can give the students special instructions. Make sure to complete all 9 slides of the directions before turning in. Okay, so I've done that. You can also add custom highlights. This is more for like when there's a reading. This one you may not use that, but if you want them to mark things up while they're reading those instructions and highlight maybe words they don't know or something like that, that would be a way that you could use that custom highlight. And then over here we have points and percentage. This one is not going to auto grade because this is where students are going to be doing marking up maps. You may not necessarily take this for a grade other than maybe a completion grade. You may save the assessment for the quiz or the presentation type of thing. But you can always, weigh it differently. You can set a rubric for yourself. You could even tell the kids specifically in the instructions, how much detail they put in and things like that. Extra information depends, will weigh their grade. Then you select which classes you want to assign it to. You can set an unlock date and a due date if you want to, and you hit the save button. When you hit the save assignment, it's going to give you an LTI link. So if you are using Canvas or Schoology or something like that, you would copy this and paste that into Canvas or Schoology. That will take students directly into that assignment when they click on that Schoology or Canvas or Google Classroom link or whatever. So that's pretty much it. It's really pretty straightforward. I'm going to go back. I'm going to exit out of this lesson. I've already assigned it out, and you can see I've got my atlas open here where the kids can still navigate through all the different pages if need be. But I'm going to go back to our original table of contents here. So these are all the different activities that your students can do: quick writes, the quiz, mapping, research, presentation. Let's take a look at the quiz real quick. The quizzes are, like I said, they're rather short. They're usually 10 to maybe 20 questions. This one's 12 questions. This one here's multiple select. So you see I'm in teacher view. And so it's giving the correct answers. This here. And so these are pretty straightforward questions. Sometimes there's a little bit higher depth of knowledge required for students to be able to answer these questions, but most of these are pretty straightforward for this one. This one, the students actually have to go in here and they have to label the map. So this would be like a great way to assess there at the end. And then this one's a little bit higher order thinking. They're having to really look at this and decide whether the statements are true or false, and then which of the following conclusions is best supported by the map. So all of this is available to you in the Explorer. The last thing I really want to show you here, I'm just going to go to the Mapping US History program to show you that the units are set up the same way: close reading exercise, multiple mapping activities, quick writes, quiz, and research presentation. Let's look at the quick writes because I didn't show you guys that to start with. And so you'll notice each one of these has its own writing selection. So which of the 3 worlds do you think was most advanced and why? That would be another great assessment piece. And so this is a writing piece besides the quiz. These are short writing pieces, usually about a paragraph, paragraph and a half, maybe 2 paragraphs. But that's why they're titled quick writes. So those are also available to you. And I guess I do need to show you one more thing with the quick writes. When you assign these out, it does allow you to assign just specific ones. So let's say you're not going to do all of these activities and you decide that you don't want to do the Bering Land Bridge and maybe you don't want to do the To the Indies again. You only want to do those three right there. The three worlds meet to the Indies, or the three worlds through to the Indies, and the three worlds meet. So you can assign just those three writing pieces, and you simply select your classes again, set your points and grades, set instructions, and hit the Save Assignment button. And it really is that simple. All right, last thing we need to look at here is the research presentation project. Okay, so when this loads in, you will notice that it's going to give the kids kind of a general framework on what they're supposed to do. And so it tells us here to add an appropriate, it walks them through what they need to do for this. And let me adjust my screen settings here because I can't see quite all of it. So you can see right there, it has them step by step. It even has them attach a bibliography. So in the student version, they will have these icons up here on the top right, but they'll also have some additional ones. So let me show you what I mean by that right here. Let me go into my student. All right, I'm going to go to my assignments and grades, and I can see there is, oops, I did not, here's the one that I just assigned. Here we go, let's launch this one here. And so you will see in this, as this student comes in, the kids have some different icons that are available. So notice there are instructions here. The kids can these are the instructions that you type in. So that was that box there. And so it's telling the students to complete all 17 slides. Notice that there is an attachment button. So this is where it says in that research presentation to attach a bibliography. That's where they would attach that. They can also go to a comment section here where there's a discussion forum where you guys can have some of those discussions about some different things with that. Then you also have this add annotations button, a printer button, and the speaker button right here. That's the enable the speech. So most of the icons are about the same, but that is just a real quick overview of what the students will have. And notice there is that turn in assignment button right there as well. In the students section, you will notice that the question mark right here takes them to a user guide. And so this is a user guide, and it does go over all these different pieces and components to Nystrom World. So it has more than just the explorer in it. It does have the researcher and the geographer as well. All right, I'm going to hop back real quick to the teacher view. And so that's pretty much it for the Explorer. You guys may wonder after this, well, where do my grades end up? So over here in the assignments and grades, this is where you'll be able to grade assignments, launch assignments. This is where you, if you lose that LTI link, you can grab that link for that lesson. You can launch it to view it as a student, and you can grade it right here as well. So this allows you to select your students and see their work as they go. So I can select which students, I can filter by if they've turned it in or not. And you'll notice down below, it's going to zoom in here on this. So you'll want to kind of reduce this. You want to drag that back to the center there to get that, or even just hit the center button. I didn't do any of the work on it, so you can see that nothing has been completed. But on the left-hand side, you see the expected answer from the teacher, and then the students' work on this side, where you can give them half credit, full credit, or no credit, and give them individual feedback. Notice it says that the student has not turned it in yet. If I had turned it in, it would actually have a little green box next to my name that said turned in. If the teacher had graded it, there would be next to that green box would be a blue box that said graded. And so that's a great way for you to be able to see which students have completed their work and which students haven't in a very quick manner. Once you have graded all of the students, so you've gone through this whole list, you've graded all of your kids, just simply click on the gradebook button right here, and this allows you to publish the grades. Oops, there we go. It allows you to publish the grades right here. So you can publish them this way. And then also it has search by assignment title, classes, things like that. So if you wanted to export data, you could filter down this, your gradebook, and you can export the data right there into a CSV file if you need to upload it into your GradeSpeed or any of your gradebook that's compatible with uploading CSV files. All right, so that was it. Long and short of the Nystrom World. We're focusing specifically on the Explorer for this one. So thank you guys so much for joining. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can get me by email. It's jason@socialstudies.com. Thanks so much and have a great day.